So I turn my podcast on, turn the volume up, push play to hear what these dudes will say. 'Cause for romance now I know that there are only hope.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm so glad you're here for another A Talk to Remember podcast. Oh, by Jove, we've got a big one for y'all. Hailing from all the way from Arkansas, the state, Mr. Nathan McDivitt. Could you give the lads a hello, Nathan?
My name is not Susan.
Nathan, hello?
Hey, what's up? How's everybody doing?
Great.
Well, now that we've got that out of the way, one more minute? Something else?
No.
Oh, goody. Well, also hailing all the way from Arkansas is our friend, Mr. Bradley Toon. Bradley, do tell everybody hello.
Hello. It's good to be here. It's good to be introduced. I don't really know who or what you are, but I'm glad to be introduced by you tonight, Brandon.
Oh, goody. Well, now my man who is living at the top of the staircase, who has the idea of the show, Mr. Michael Barrett Blagg. Michael, why don't you just tell everybody how you feel tonight?
Did you say Michael Barrett Blagg?
Is it not Barrett?
Sure. Is this like Santa? Is that what this voice is?
I don't know what you're talking about, lad. Why don't you just tell the folks how you doing?
I'm great.
And what you want for Christmas.
Brandon. I'm great.
And last but not least, all the way from across the neighborhood, Miss Allison Bustle to talk about the exciting movie that's called The Bodyguard. Allison, how are you tonight? Are you doing great?
I am doing great because I got to see The Bodyguard this week.
Oh,
Amen.
Boy.
Amen.
Well, I'm going to hand it over to old Mikey, and he's really going to get this ball rolling. All right.
Oh, okay.
So was that like a mixture between Santa and Harry Carey? Because I couldn't quite nail it.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just here, and I'm just here to enjoy the program, and we're going to have a heck of a show. Sorry for my language.
Wow.
Who says program?
I don't get this. I don't understand it.
Brandon, you light up my life, man. You light up my life.
Oh, boy, I tell you what. That does my heart good. Taylor, we may have to edit this intro.
This is going to get old super quick. Well, as
Brandon,
Old Man Winter said, we are covering The Bodyguard this week. And, man, I'm super excited about it because if there's one thing, this is the last, we've done our sets of 4, and this is the last movie we've decided to do this season. And this was a season that did not have enough Costner, in my opinion. So was super pumped. We were going to end on a high note. He's the last real American cowboy out there. And I think that we're so lucky that we can do this and do it with Allison, because Allison, you love this movie, right?
And I love Costner.
Yes, she does. That's what I like to hear. You said you had, this is a movie you've watched a ton, right?
Yeah, so I was telling Brandon, I have not seen this movie in a really long time. It came out, I vividly remember it came out when I was in the 8th grade, right before Christmas or right around Christmas. And I don't remember watching it a ton, but I watched it last night for the first time in a really long time, because it's been a really long time since I was in 8th grade. And it was so familiar. I could hear the music leading into a scene, and I could tell you what was about to happen, which I have a terrible memory. So if I feel that way about it, that means I must have watched it, 50 times between December and December of '93.
Were you like a Whitney Houston fan?
I was. I liked her. I certainly listened to her music. I mean, I was a typical 80s kid. So I grew up.
Here's my question then. I know I Will Always Love You, like this movie put that song on the map. The others, were they already Whitney songs, or was, because some of those others I was like, man, that's a big song, but I didn't know if it was like this movie song or if it was already out and they just put it in the movie. Do you know?
I think it was an original soundtrack that was created for the movie. I could be wrong, but I don't think most of those were remakes. I do need to say, Whitney, I think Dolly put I Will Always Love You on the map, in fairness to Dolly, but I think Whitney's version is just amazing. And you guys probably have heard the national anthem that Whitney sang. That was all kind of right around the same time. She was amazing back during, the late 80s, early 90s. And her version of I Will Always Love You. I mean, my child knows every word and he's 13 now. So
watching this movie the whole time, I just thought, man, what a treasure. Like that girl, man, she had some pipes. The girl could sing.
And she was beautiful and just so talented. And yeah, she was a performer.
Well, so we've done, like, Nate, I don't think you did. It was me, Dave, and Hagrid down there. But we did a version where we watched Glitter. And Mariah Carey making the jump from pop star to actress was one of the biggest turds I've ever seen in my life. But this, like, she held her own, man. Like, it didn't seem like she was struggling too hard. So I was pretty impressed by that. But I think that this movie has a lot to talk about, so we should jump right into this poster. Taylor, throw that thing up there. Bradley, won't you kick us off? What did you think when you saw this poster alone?
This is the first time I've actually seen it.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
In detail. I tell you what, I don't even know what to think. Actually, that didn't even look like Costner, to be honest with you. But
well, it's funny you say that because the IMDb, because I looked a little bit, that is Costner. That is not Whitney.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's looking like he's saving someone, which with Costner in it, he probably did something really cool to make all the guys think, I wish I was him. And then he's carrying out a damsel in distress. And so I just, we'll get into me. I might be the bad guy, little spoiler alert for this podcast, but I respect Costner with everything I have. So that's what I'm saying.
I'll allow that. For me, I look at this and I think, obviously this is going to be a complete 180 from the movie itself, but it almost looks like this was a lady that was shot and like he was protecting her and taking her somewhere safer. So if I would have just saw this poster alone, I would have thought, all right, this is why this guy was hired, because this lady has been almost already killed and now he's got to save her going forward. So Nate?
Yeah, I think it's pretty straightforward. The only thing she is just dressed very provocatively. I think I can't even. It is such a weird costume. So I don't know what exactly my thought is looking at who he's the bodyguard of. But clearly he's the hired hand to keep the this individual safe, and it's Costner, so he's going to do a good job. Now, I will say, seeing Whitney Houston on the top there, you got to think, okay, there's got to be like some sort of like, is she an actress or is she a singer? You just almost get the feel that like she's got to be doing her thing right in line with what she does.
Also, kind of looks like she has a tail.
There's a lot about this that I'm just not sure of. I'm going to be honest.
How about you, Ghost of Christmas Present? What do you think?
Well, I've been analyzing this old picture, and it kind of looks like Costner's coming in to save this woman of the night. It's raining, and they're fleeing some dangerous danger. And the whole movie just goes over a few hours, and in the morning, they find refuge.
So they find refuge in the morning? So they're on the run all night?
All night. Woman of the night. Fleeing to the morn.
That's intense.
All right. Allison, you can play the game if you want, but you don't have to, like based on the poster alone. Do you have any thoughts or you just want to jump right in?
No, let's jump right in. I think y'all covered most.
Okay. All right.
It's pretty straightforward. It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
It's a pretty
That's
easy.
one of the most straightforward.
Yeah.
Also, up until so I looked last night. I thought this was our first R-rated movie. It is not. It is our second. The first one, though, I wouldn't have thought it was R-rated.
About time.
No, that was R-rated.
Yeah. About
We've
time.
done three then.
Which is
it was
crazy.
Harry Met Sally.
Oh,
yeah.
Because I went down the list and
That makes sense.
I thought this was it. But Taylor, you got that Wikipedia ready?
Yes. Okay,
Get us going, man.
Rachel Marin is an Academy Award nominated actress and music superstar who was being sent death threats by a stalker. After a bomb explodes in her dressing room, her manager, Bill Devaney, seeks out professional bodyguard Frank Farmer to protect her. Frank was formerly a Secret Service agent, part of the protection detail during the Carter and Reagan presidencies. He reluctantly accepts Devaney's offer, though he feels Rachel is a spoiled diva who is oblivious to the threats against her life.
So I'm just going to go out. Like, one thing that I did not enjoy about this movie, and maybe it's just this is how the 90s, or I don't even know, maybe it's just the way it was digitalized. I was having to turn the volume up and down like the whole time. Like, I'm watching it at 8 o'clock. The kids are in bed. And so at the very beginning, there's nothing going on. It just has everything's silent. I'm thinking that I'm like, what is wrong? Is there music on it? I'm blaring. And then it says, Kevin Costner, Whitney Houston. I'm like, man, what is that? And then boom, like it's a gunshot. And I nearly leapt off the couch. And Claudia slapped me with a pillow. And I was like, how was I supposed to know? And so I had to turn it down. So I felt like I had to do that all movie. That's just a small little pet peeve that I had of the movie. But that entrance jarred my heart. It was the beginning, it was so loud.
What an opening shot. Just Costner coming in strong from the get-go. I loved it. I loved every second of it. But not
all the man I need, huh? Not all the man I need.
Didn't jump that much. That's weird.
Oh, really?
But what else did he? I'm trying to think what all we talked about there.
Well, so help me with this opening scene. Is that I felt like, and it could have been just because I was struggling I was trying to get the captions on because I couldn't really, again, I was trying to keep it down a little bit so I could, was that the scene that ultimately led to him? How did he stop working for the Secret Service? Is that what that opening scene helped?
So to me, and maybe I'm wrong, I thought this was just the job before her.
Okay.
This was just the guy he was working, because after that, the guy was like, hey, you want a drink? And it was setting that whole, no, I don't mix business with pleasure. Give me the money. I'm out of here.
Okay.
Kind of showing he's no nonsense. He gets the job done. The dude's like, how did you know? And he's like, you washed in the garage. It just shows how slick he is. It's kind of what I took from it.
Okay. So it was just like a character setup, not so much because I didn't go back and watch, but I also didn't take a ton of notice of what was going on in that scene. So it was just like a setup.
Yeah, I think they were just introducing him and his role. My recollection was that when Reagan got shot, I thought they said he never recovered from that because he was at his mom's funeral that day and he couldn't handle the stress and anxiety of not having been there for the president.
And that's where I think I got confused because I was like, was that the president? Was the guy who got shot? Was that Reagan? Who was on the ground? I don't know. So I was confused, but
Reagan for sure.
Definitely. Okay, that's all I had about the opening.
Okay, and so then I think Taylor kind of introduced what it was. So we go from Costner, he's doing this job, he gets paid well, he goes back to this one-room apartment or whatever where he's eating beans off the stove and kicking his mail to the side, and then this guy shows up and he's like, we hear you're the best, and we want you to come guard Whitney Houston, Rachel or whatever her name was. Here's the one part I didn't get was the knife thing. Was he trying to undersell how awesome he was, or was
Absolutely.
Okay. Right. I didn't pick up on that because dude was awesome. He threw those knives.
He threw it behind him. It was amazing.
I loved every bit of it.
I'll say, so up until he I thought this was one of the guy who's been out of it for a long time. He's got to kind of work back into know, because the dude's in a dark place. He's eating soup with a wooden spoon out of a pan. I wrote down psycho. Like, who eats a wooden soup out? Like, I get trying it. Like, I'm all for trying soup. Brandon, do you try the soup with a wooden spoon? But you don't like sit down and eat it at the table in the pan with the wooden spoon, right?
I'd say it's not the most efficient way to eat the soup. You got to get a soup ladle that has a deep curvature in it to get a lot of soup in your mouth so you can get nourishment. I'll tell you what, old Costner didn't want to show his hand too early. What you think about it?
Wow.
Oh boy.
Just unashamed right there. Just so unashamed. He's all in.
I think he just didn't have anything that brought value to his life. I think he was just when he met Rachel, she just brought something different. He felt like he was doing something valuable and contributing, and I feel like he was missing that before. He still had a skill set. I mean, he had a very special set of skills, just like Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
But he was missing something, right? And then he found it.
And he clearly had the skill. I was like, up until the point when he like flings that one back, I was like, boy, this guy's in a really rough place. If he's going to hire, after seeing these first two knives, if he's going to hire this guy. And then it was clear, like he was just underselling his goodness. But I with the dinner and then right into that, I was like, whew, boy, Costner's in a rough spot, and he's not even drinking. He's in a rough spot.
Well, okay, and so kind of in that same vein. So he goes to Whitney's house the next day. Is it Rachel? Is that what it is? Rachel. He goes to her house the next day, and she's supposed to be one of the biggest people in the world, and she's got like this intercom system that looks like it's about to die, and she's got like nobody. And I think that's the point, is he's showing like how unprepared for something like this that she was. But I just thought, man, that's kind of the most unrealistic part of a movie that's going to get even way more unrealistic at times, is this lady that's loaded is like living in shambles in some senses, and then in others it's the most extravagant thing you've ever seen. But
she's got like the worst, like these people who are surrounding her are the worst. It's like they don't have her best interests at heart. They just are yes men. Like, because I mean, this guy walks up telling them that he's Thomas Edison, that he's I forget who else he said. He was always, but obviously as a bodyguard, trying to figure out how easy is it to get in this house. And yeah, they're just a work. And he has that moment where he's I forget the guy who drives the car, the chauffeur, but he has that scene, and it's like, what this is supposed to be like a huge Academy Award nominating woman, and like there's no, she's just, it's like a sieve, man. You could just walk right through. For sure. And he does. He goes right in. The old lady lets him right in the front door, and he goes in, and he kind of meets her for the first time, and she's just everything you would expect a celebrity to be. She's horrible. So emotional.
Yeah. Doesn't want anything to do with him, and he immediately doesn't want anything to do with her. But my question for you guys is, with the exception of, because had anybody else seen this besides Allison? I had not. How many of you guys, when he first walked in that room and you knew, all right, this is kind of going to be a mystery too, tried to figure out who it was right from the get-go? Because I surveyed that room, and I picked a person right from the get-go, and I just wondered if that's everybody else's game too, because I did. I was all in. Brandon didn't know it was a mystery, I guess. Brandon?
Fun fact, the old African-American man also played the janitor in Air Bud. Love that guy. Mic drop.
That was so fun.
That is a very fun fact. I hate this character. I don't know what it is. I hate it.
Devaney,
You're talking about Brandon, right? Not Devaney.
Right.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Devaney. I was like, God, I mean, that's a little
Devaney's
rough.
awesome.
No, I love that character.
Look, if we want to just kill old man Taylor, then it's over. All right, no, I'm back. You happy now? You just
Yes.
Yes, we are.
We're happy.
I'm not going to be happy about this podcast now, so I'll be back.
He'll work it out. He'll work it out step by step.
Have dramatic.
So Taylor, is there much else that we have to cover, or was it just setting that first?
Well, the explosion, the whole like.
So he said that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. That was that pre all this?
It was almost so I had a hard time like it was almost like it was during that whole it was like a montage. It seemed like it was I think it was before the scene where he walks in, right? Like
according to Wikipedia, the bomb goes off and then they recruit Frank.
Yeah.
Okay.
As far as the timeline, that's what they get.
I can't remember where the bomb happened. I remember it happened, but I don't remember anything really about that.
It happened. I mean, all that stuff happened so fast. Like it was so quick right at the beginning. Yeah, it's hard. It's kind of runs together, like you said.
But so yeah, in that room, you meet Devaney. You meet this her like manager guy who's the worst.
He's the worst. I thought for sure he was. I thought he was in. He was in on it. You
meet her sister. And then you meet her current bodyguard, who was the guy from Dumb and Dumber.
Yes.
The
Eat Your Burger will tell you.
Yeah, that guy. Which he's perfect and everything. So yeah, I think that kind of sets up the beginning here.
Also, we meet Fletcher, her son, who I thought until like it got close. I thought it was Kel. I thought it was baby Kel for the longest time. It looked like Kel from Keenan and Kel, and She's All That, or not She's All That, All That. I thought it was Kel. What is the last name?
I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this kid, again, like kids are the smartest ones in the movies to an extent because he knew exactly what was going on. He was the most grounded of almost everybody there. Like he has a moment later where he's kind of an idiot, but he's a kid too, so you got to give him that. But yeah, I forgot about Fletcher. So, all right, Taylor, take us on.
All right, so Rachel soon accuses Frank of being paranoid, complaining that his extensive protection techniques are intrusive. Her existing bodyguard, Tony, resents Frank's presence, leading to a brawl between the two in Rachel's kitchen. However, Frank and Rachel grow closer when he rescues her from danger after a riot erupts at one of her concerts. Though Frank tries to remain professional, he and Rachel sleep together. He breaks off the affair the next day, realizing it compromises his ability to protect her. Hurt, Rachel begins to defy Frank's security measures, then attempts to sleep with his former Secret Service colleague, Greg Portman, whom she meets at a Miami party.
I got something to say.
Holy cow, that's a lot of ground.
A lot happened. A lot was rolling around.
Yeah, that was like an hour and a half of the movie.
Oh my God.
We're at the end now. Okay, first I'll say the old bodyguard was in the office as the mafia guy.
He was.
Ah.
So
The
another
insurance salesman.
And then I just thought it was crazy that he had like a knife fight, and then Coster just, throws a knife by his head and sticks in the kitchen. And he's like, "Oh, you still get to be in my staff." So that kind of blew my mind. It also shows me just, man, Coster's a heck of a guy. Super confident.
Super compassionate. Super forgiving.
Yeah, I just thought that was interesting. And we haven't even talked about
all the man I need.
Yeah, we just need to talk about the stalker a little bit too. And
yes.
I'm just disgruntled. So
why don't you tell us about that stalker a little bit, Brandon?
So there is a stalker that like snuck into our house, and we can't give all the details. It would not be PG. We got to keep it PG now. But he was messing around in a room, and this guy's been writing her letters like, "I'm gonna murder you," kind of like a weirdo, right? And so that's why
I don't like that voice. He talks in that weird voice like you talked at the beginning of the podcast.
Yeah.
Look, I don't get paid enough to be treated this way.
That's true. That's true.
Thank you, Nathan. Thank you.
That is just like the most bizarre thing. Like what happened on that bed. Like the fact that somebody would just sneak into a house to perform that kind of debauchery just is such a weird. I don't know. That must have been what made it rated R, right?
Probably. And as much as you don't like Whitney Houston, like at the beginning of this, because she's just so hard to handle, in her defense, she didn't know any of this was happening. She knew about the bomb. Bradley, you've been awful quiet. I know you don't like this, so won't you jump in and give us some of
I love it. I really do. I've really enjoyed it. I'm excited to be a part of this. I'm really kind of sad.
Is this a character too? Is this a character?
No, it's not. So, upon observation, this is meant to be a compliment, but channeling The Office and Parks and Rec, I think that from leading up to most of the first half of the movie, this is where Michael Scarn and Burt Macklin get their inspiration from.
Oh, for sure.
Cheese it up just a little bit more. That's what these try-hard, like, wannabe heroes are, as these two guys. And so, anyway, I liked it. It was just really hard. I could see how in 1992 this was like unbelievable. Kevin Costner, Whitney Houston, like that's like today if Taylor Swift or Ariana Grande, whoever that, like someone like that being in a movie, I think, and like singing and displaying her music, I think that would be the cultural kind of phenomenon. But man, it like got real fast at times and real slow, even like with the date, with the concert, like the big mosh pit basically that happened on the stage at the concert. I don't know, where are we at right now? What are we trying to do?
Here, because there's one part in particular I really want to cover.
Yeah.
So they do the whole montage of Costner putting in cameras and all that stuff, and she hates him and he's protecting her and he's doing his job and everybody resents him. And then she's like, hey, I got to go shopping or whatever. So they go shopping. They kind of have the little bit of friendly banter back and forth. And we can circle back and talk about anything you want, but I just want to talk about this one part. So then they get back in the limo, and big guy from Dumb and Dumber's ripping him a new one, and Costner notices they're being followed. And so they get back to her house, and he jumps out of the car, and he chases this car around the property. And I love Costner. Love him. He's my hero when it comes to acting. But when he dives out in the middle of that road to catch a car driving away, I don't know what he's trying to prove right there. Like, there was no way he was going to be able to do anything in that moment. So,
best case scenario, he lands on the windshield and dies, basically.
I mean, that whole scene to me, I was like, this is kind of ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
Also, that he's a bodyguard, it also seemed weird to me that, like, because I think of bodyguards and I think like Lincoln Continentals and stuff. And the fact that he had an El Camino also seemed very out of place. But those were the only two flaws I saw in Costner. So is there anything else about that part right there before we move on to the falling in love and concerts and all that stuff?
Well, so there's the whole like, so Cy, that's her media guy. What's his official role? Do you remember?
He's like our public relations guy. Yeah.
Okay, so he is like so adamant about keeping things from her, and her manager is more kind of on the fence of letting her know, and then, but I don't like. I don't understand that at all. But I could see where that their need for a bodyguard at that point. But then, like, doesn't she find out, like, by accident? Like, they still don't even, like, reveal to her that there's been someone who's actually been in her house and in this intimate room. Like, but Costner, but he doesn't even, like, say, hey, so, you know, there's this. Like, he just kind of, like, accidentally blurts it out. It's just very interesting to me if a high-profile person, you know, that this is going down.
Yeah, this is the one thing, and still it's kind of a stupid little plot hole, but little wormy guy, what's his name? Cy? Is that it?
Cy.
So when they're up in the room the first time and Costner hears what happens, he was like, I can't protect someone that doesn't know what's going on. And so him and the other guy are like, well, then let's go tell her. And Cy says, I will explain everything. So I think that we're supposed to be led to believe that she does know, but obviously he just doesn't tell her.
But she doesn't, right?
Right. But we're supposed to think she does.
Oh, we're supposed to think that he's going to go tell her.
Yeah, he said, I'll go.
Yeah,
let me be the one to tell her.
Yeah. So then they're at this concert before, and like he's trying to take her out of this precarious situation, but just because there's a lot of unknowns about it, and then she decides to jump in and sing and do the whole bit, and then people start jumping up on the stage like it ain't nothing. Everybody just say, hey, don't do that. Like just giving them the whole head point, like, don't do that. And then all heck breaks loose.
And he gets her out and he takes her back home because he's had the car parked somewhere else. And that's what makes old big guy all frustrated.
But he doesn't trust anybody. He doesn't trust anybody. Not that they're,
yeah.
no, well, and not that they're again, not that they're evil, but just they're not good. Like they're just not. There's a reason why he's there. So,
but also there's got to be an inside man, and Costner, any good bodyguard would know that.
Right.
So he just doesn't trust it.
I think he just thinks they're incompetent, and his job, his obligation is for her. Like he doesn't give two craps about Cy or Tony, and frankly, I don't even think he's trying to show him up. His obligation is to her, and all that they are doing is interfering with his ability to protect her. So it's not that he wants to leave them in the rain necessarily. He just y'all are in my way. Like
he's a professional,
Rachel. And y'all are out front waiting on a car. Well, we don't park the car out front because that's incompetent.
we back it into an alley and we run out the side door and then just plow through everybody.
And we leave your tail standing in the rain.
Yeah, that's
which I loved. Again, I loved it.
Yeah. So
the weird long-haired.
Go ahead. Sorry,
you go ahead.
No. I was going to move on. You go ahead.
I was going to say the weird long-haired guy that is interrogated is actually in this scene. He gets kicked in the face in the mosh pit, which is where I wrote down it's got to be the weird long-haired guy or Cy. That's what I put because you kind of see some long gangly hair when he's like making the letter, and so when I saw that dude just staring really creepy, and Costner just decides to get him out of the way in the most Costner way possible. That's when I thought. It could be. So
as far as, and we'll get to who it is, but as far as like the inside person, y'all, I always play it by Dwight Schrute standards. It's the medium suspect. And I nailed it. Like I knew who it was.
Even from there was a point where I knew it, or I because of that, I was thinking.
When we scanned the room, I thought, who's like the one? And I told Brandon, it's going to be this person. And then lo and behold.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice. Nicely done.
That's good.
It was right.
It goes into the romantic side, right? A little bit.
Yeah.
Boy, that happened fast. I'll be honest. That happened really fast and which is fine. I just felt like I missed a lot of that romantic stuff. So she
was like, she's jogging or whatever. And she's like, I always go on dates, but I can't. So you're going to have to take me on a date.
Okay.
So he does. And then, you're right. It just goes right into it.
And they go to a Japanese like
samurai movie.
Did the guy have arms? Was he a samurai with no arms? It looked like it. After I don't know how he would have killed all those people, but as he was walking out, I was like, I'm not sure that guy has arms. Anyway, but then they leave and they go to this like, and then again, maybe it's just Costner's people wouldn't recognize this girl, but like they're just in this diner bar hanging out, and then they I mean, basically Whitney just says, I want to dance with somebody. She picks him up and takes him to the dance floor and they start dancing.
I Will Always Love You.
Which is fascinating because when it happened, I looked at Claudia and I was like, I Will Always Love You. That's her song, but it's not her song. It was a really cool way that they snuck that in there.
They were making fun of the lyrics. And you're right. They have this dance and then it leads to a night of passion, a night that we will talk about right after the break. We'll be right back.
Hello, Talk to Remember friends. It's me, Haley. I've been on some podcast episodes before. Maybe you remember, maybe you don't. It's okay. But what you probably do remember is the Coffee House. We're the sponsors of this podcast. And something that we wanted to let you know, it's super exciting. We're reopening Monday, May 4th. Here's a little information about that. So we will be open to in-dining, limited capacity, but we will also be offering curbside. So just give us a call at the Coffee House and tell us you want it curbside, and we'll bring it to you. Look out for some themed drinks that we're going to be doing with the guys from Talk to Remember. Follow us at the Coffee House Franklin on Instagram. Our address is 144 2nd Avenue North. If you get confused, there's a little construction going on. See the construction? You're at the Coffee House. That's the Coffee House in downtown Franklin.
And we're back, and we've got a lot of movie to cover still. So let's get back to Costner has brought her home. He's fought with, they've gone on the date, and they go back to Costner's basement where after the samurai movie, he has to show his samurai sword.
Yeah.
And he says, watch this. And he takes her scarf or whatever, lets his sword slice it in half, which again was just this weird thing to happen. But it's Costner, so I allowed it. And then after he, just gets her going with the samurai sword, cutting her scarf in half, they make sandwiches. And then the next day, he's so just... He can't.
Oh, he's crushed. He's crushed.
He can't do it.
Can't believe it.
Business and pleasure don't mix.
They don't mix.
He can't believe he let himself fall for it. He's got to just end things now. And Whitney Houston is not a person who is told no. And so she is not happy about this. And so it kind of sets the stage going forward. Anybody got anything?
Yeah. Hey, where do broken hearts go? To Miami. And that's when she runs into this whatever Portman guy, right? Broken hearts going to Miami, or have we already missed that? Did we? Is the Miami?
No,
Miami's after the sandwiches night, right?
Yeah, because then that dude books her like it's some kind of like a charity thing where it was $1,000 tickets,
couple concerts,
there, and she performs, and Costner's not real happy about it because again, he's upset her, so she just doesn't want to do anything he has to say anymore. So they go there, and then that's after the concerts when she meets his old ex, another guy who, I don't know if he was a CIA or if he's a bodyguard. I think maybe he did the same route Costner did. He was CIA, then bodyguard. And so to try to make him jealous, she hooks up with old Portman.
Is that the reason? Because, I mean, I'm not, he's a fine-looking guy, but he's no Costner. And
right.
Amen.
So,
Amen.
I mean, that was just kind of a weird aside there, I felt like.
I felt it was a little forced.
Well, I know women, and so, look, I have...
These are always my favorite.
Yeah, this is the best part.
That's the guy with the Roll Tide hat on.
Anyway, gosh. We'll start talking old again if we keep it up here, people.
Exhale. Okay, exhale, man. Shoot.
So when they're smooching, they're giving each other some smooching action, and all of a sudden, like old, what's his face hair?
Gary Portman?
Yeah, him. He's like, oh yeah, let's make sandwiches. And then like Rachel's like, no, I want to stop. And so you can tell she didn't have a connection with him. It was service level. She didn't want to go all the way. So even though he's kind of forceful, she gets out of the situation. So she's just making Costner jealous. It's just playing heart games. That's all that was. Heart games.
Heart games.
Steve Bradley, and he knows women. So
he knows women.
No doubt.
Portman was all, I'm your baby tonight. And she was like, I'm not having it.
Preach.
Couldn't have said it better if I tried, man. That's good.
But Bradley, because I know that you've kind of let it slip from the get-go, this wasn't your cup of tea. Like, what do you got here? There's got to be some stuff going on that you're eye rolling.
There's just such a, like, it's slow to the point of like they'll build a little bit of the romance and then it stops when you start to kind of get a feel, and then you kind of lose that feel, and then they kind of go back to the mystery, the suspense, and then you lose that a little bit. And so I never could like fully get in either thing, because once one thing was kind of happening, the other one, and this is my one little soapbox, is just like, I don't really understand Whitney Houston's, like they had the conversation at the shopping place, and then she asks him when she's jogging, let's go on a date. And then he says, like, watch this, they can slice a scarf in half and let's make sandwiches. And suddenly they're in love, and we're supposed to think this is how they're star-crossed lovers. I could never get into their romance because
it's the greatest love of all.
I'm sorry, Nathan, what?
It's the greatest love of all.
It's the greatest love of all. I couldn't find it. And I tried real hard, but I just couldn't. So I was really struggling at this point with like, what is she? Where are they going? Like, what's going to happen next?
I get that. That makes sense.
So
I think Bradley, I don't want to say anything negative about this movie because I love this movie. But I do think you have certainly honed in on what makes For Love of the Game a better love story than this, because I think they both have the same feature that makes them great movies, and that's really great dialogue between the two main characters. To me, that's what makes a really good love story. And For Love of the Game, like, hits that out of the park. Did y'all see what I did there?
Yeah, that was good.
The Bodyguard had some really great nuggets of that, but I think because of the suspense piece of the movie, they have to pay too much attention to that they aren't able to develop that dialogue as much as they could. Now, in 2020, you just make a longer movie, right? But in 1992, they didn't do that. Movies just weren't that long. And so they didn't. I mean, I remember one of my favorite parts in the whole movie, and we just needed more of this, was when she said, "You don't look like a bodyguard." And he says, "What did you expect?" And she said, "I don't know, tough guy." And he said, "This is my disguise." That's the kind of like subtle, flirty dialogue that they should have carried throughout the movie. And I think the reality is that was going on, and we just didn't see enough of it to know why they were making sandwiches. For Love of the Game, you see the entire story unfold, and that's what made you buy the love story. And I think this just needed more of that. I think it was happening. We just didn't see it.
One of the guys really well. I mean, yeah, that's really well said. I agree with that. One of the other things, though, they did a really good job of is like it made me kind of go into a bodyguard's mind in the sense of like those scenes, they're panning the crowd so much that you think there are a million ways this could go wrong. Like there really are, you know, like Whitney Houston could get injured on a million different ways. And so they did a good job of like putting you in those shoes, I thought.
For sure. And so that after that night, like the next morning he gets up, he's in a room. They're still arguing back and forth. He goes to do a perimeter check. He comes, or maybe it was make a phone call. He did something. I can't remember what it was.
Well, she sneaks out and goes shopping, and he doesn't know. And then he goes storms off, and that's when we get this phone call.
And so he does the perimeter. He comes back, does the perimeter check, and he finds this guy down in the kitchen, which
Howard had a heck of a year, man, for a rookie.
This is something happening?
I'm hearing some feedback here.
Brandon, are you watching another movie?
What was happening?
This is not. This ain't me, Allison. You don't.
We're having a heck of a week.
I don't know. I think that was Brandon.
No, guys. Let's be honest. It was Taylor. Just kidding.
Taylor, are you watching cartoons?
I love my Looney Tunes.
I was so confused.
I was so lost.
I didn't know what was happening.
I thought it was me for a second. I was like, "What is this me? What's happening? Should we figure out?"
I thought we picked up on somebody's frequency or something. I was like, what the heck?
Like Stranger Things.
Come in here, kind of bomb our Zoom.
Feels dream. Yeah. So he goes downstairs. He's doing a perimeter check. He finds this guy smoking a cigarette in the kitchen. This was like, I get that bodyguards do this, like, oh, this guy's out of place. But even like this whole guy's reaction, like Costner's like, what are you doing? What's it to you? And so they get this big fight.
F you.
That whole scene seems so just ridiculous.
It was very 1992 because he pushes him and he turns into the wall, and then suddenly the scene switches and there's this big red splosh on the wall. Like his nose just exploded upon bumping the brick. And I really thought, is that spaghetti sauce or is that blood? And then we see that they do more. Yeah, it's crazy.
Then his housekeeper's like, that's my husband. Don't beat up my husband. And Costner has this other moment where he's like, man, I'm letting this lady get to me. I'm attacking people that don't need attacked. And so he goes up and he's ready to quit. He puts in his notice. He says, I'm going to get her back. Then I'm gone. But then he goes out on the balcony to kind of just take a moment. And she's out there. And then she's come again. She's the most bipolar client you could ever have because she's like, whatever you say, I'll do it. I'm 100% in. And so he's like, well, then I should, if it was up to me, you'd cancel your tour and I'd take you somewhere super far away. where no one can find you. And I think that
where I can definitely keep you safe.
yeah, no one will ever get us there. And I think that leads us to the next paragraph. Is that correct?
Yeah.
All right,
So-
Taylor, take it away.
So when her stalker places a threatening phone call, Rachel finally recognizes the seriousness of the situation and her need to trust Frank completely. Frank, Rachel, her son Fletcher, her sister Nikki, and her driver Henry then travel to a large lakefront cabin in the mountains, the home of Frank's father, Herb. The next day, Frank rescues Fletcher from a small motorboat just before it blows up. After Frank secures the house for the night, a drunk Nikki, upset that Fletcher could have died, admits to Frank that she hired a hitman to kill Rachel during a fit of jealousy, but that the letters from the stalker came before that. She is paid in full and does not know the killer's identity. Abruptly, the hitman breaks into the dark house and fatally shoots Nikki. Frank pursues the killer into the woods. He shoots at the assailant but misses, allowing the latter to escape. Frank learns that the stalker has been apprehended earlier that day and was in custody when Nikki was killed.
So we're back in the woods. It's snowing. We're
A Costner staple. Costner. What a romantic.
Costner, blue jeans, and snow.
I love it. He takes her out there.
Great.
His old
It's
man's
great
there. His dad is also just like the coolest guy in the world. They've been playing the same chess game for 3 years.
Yeah.
Like,
Real quick plot hole. I'm sorry.
All right.
I like chess. I'm not like great at it, but old Fletcher, he's like, "What do you think, Fletcher?" And Fletcher's like, "Oh, knight to king 4. Knight to king is checkmate, buddy. You just hit a pawn. Like, at least say the right thing when you're calling out chess pieces." They totally tried to sound cool. So for my chess nerds listening to this, we caught it. It's a great.
I had no idea.
That made me sound super
Chess nerds.
nerdy.
That's really.
Brandon, you knew, right?
Yeah, I was all over, man. Knew what was going on. I was attacking it, ready to go. Let's get the bad guy.
Nice.
We were talking about chess.
And, yeah, get the bad king. Get him out of there. Put him in jail.
Thanks, Brandon.
Hey.
Thanks, Brandon.
Nice. Okay, so they go to this really awesome lakefront cabin, right? So the what we talked about, or what Taylor read, we talked a little bit off camera here, like about the timeline of hired a hitman, stalker being, and this thing kind of this paragraph that Taylor read kind of helped us see that. So there's a stalker that is independent of the hitman, and we find that out. Nikki makes advances towards what's his name, which is that was a really weird thing. Like, there was a lot of bad words being thrown out, and she was like, "Yeah, well, you won't sleep with me," and it was just a weird. That whole thing was weird. I think she's obviously got some issues with being the second fiddle of the family, but they made a point to say, and they almost like hammered it home, like, he's been paid in full. He's been paid in full.
Yeah.
Like, why? What do you think the point of that was?
Well, they also said, like, he won't stop until the job is done. And so even, like, after one attempt, like, I think he realized that point, he's either going to have to kill this assassin or she's going to get killed.
And I've seen that in other movies or TV shows too, where once an assassin has the money, you can't stop it, even if you try to call it. It's once the money is in the bank, you can't. It's done.
Yeah. So is that not counterintuitive? Wouldn't you think that if he's already been paid and you're going to call it off, you can keep the money? Wouldn't that be easier? That's where I'm not usually a hitman.
It would be a bad rep if someone could turn that into this possibility that the hitman swindled the other person.
Well, and also,
like, just protect your reputation. I kill him every time.
We're in '92, so I mean,
pre 9/11.
You're not getting. He's not going to have a cell phone on him, a burner phone, where you're like, "Hey, this is off. This is off." This dude's already in action, so you're not going to be like, he's got the money. He knows what he's got to do. How are you going to get a hold of him to stop it?
I've got a wild and crazy idea. Maybe he's just neurotic. He's a hitman.
Well, that fits.
People that we're talking about here.
He is a murderer.
I think it's time for me to jump in here. Look, I have never been a hitman. That's just not been something I've done in life. But
Praise
I
the Lord.
can say from my perspective, if I'm serving a client, look, I'm going to keep in contact, even if it's a middleman, even if it's Dominic, that's fine. And look, if you want to pay me for not doing a job, I'll take your money all day.
Yeah, that's low risk.
Low risk, high reward. There's literally no risk. And like, honestly, if you want to pay, if people wanted to pay me right now not to murder, I would totally take their money. I've been doing it for years.
Doing it for years.
Also, normally little dogs, not my thing. Loved that little dog. Loved that thing. He minded so well.
Costner tried to starve him. He told him not to move, and the dog did not move from that door for a week.
He was there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
he nearly killed
yeah.
him.
Also, the dog lured him upstairs while the killer killed the sister. So, how good of a dog really is?
Bradley, you're looking for loopholes. I'm
I'm
looking
just
for love. Come on, man.
I'm Team Bradley on this one.
All right, so Brandon, this is what we've learned about you today. You go in and out of old man voices. You're Team Bradley. You've never been a hitman, and you know how women think. This has been a big episode for you.
Big
man.
episode.
I do.
He told Bradley, "You'll never stand alone." I'm with you.
I'll always be by your side, Brad.
Thanks, buddy. Thank
Getting
you.
up the long drives and yo.
So she makes a move on him. He says no. She's all upset. We go to next day. Nobody can find Fletcher. They're outside singing "Jesus Loves Me." And then all of a
Weird.
sudden,
Felt a little out of place. Felt a little out of place.
then it's where's Fletcher? Oh, he's driving a boat by himself. And again, friggin' Costner with these dives. Like, he's just like run full sprint, spear the kid off a boat. And we're like, man, what an idiot. Till we realized the boat had a bomb and he saved Fletcher's life. So Costner's the man again. Still a very random scene, which leads us to that. So they learned during the day that the guy's been captured and there's still a hitman on the loose, right? Does she tell
after
him
that?
day?
It's after that, yeah.
Right. And so they say they're going to stay one more night. And that's when the sister explains to him everything that's gone down. And we learn that's when the dog leads him upstairs. And that's when Nikki gets shot. And
But see, she also, I'm circling back here, but she also said, like, before she got shot, no, I'm the one who hired you. Like, I don't know. It just seems like, I don't know. I guess I was thinking, I'm still on this whole thing. Like, if I were paid to do a job and then like any job, like build a fence, and they're like, you know what, actually, we don't want the fence anymore, but we've already paid you, so don't worry about it. I would be thrilled, and I'd be like, oh, sweet, I can go find something else to do. And I don't know. I think I still come back to the. Well, I don't want to. We don't have to go back into.
Okay, so I've got a way to go with it. Let's say that we are hitmen together, all of us. We kill for money, and somebody comes up,
play for keeps.
And somebody says, hey, here, take this money and kill my husband. And so we take the money. And then they call us later and they say, it's off. Don't kill my husband. If we don't kill their husband and they turn us in, we look like the only guilty party. But if we kill the husband, then they're tied to it too.
Wait, so, how do we get the money? If the money's already been paid to us, how do we get that big sum of money?
I don't know, man.
This is a rabbit trail.
I
love it. It's a deep dive. I don't know the answer. I really don't, but I'm here for it.
Costner does chase after him.
Are we going to split the money 3 ways or 6 ways? Are we going to? Anyway, Costner also dives out the window and does a dodge roll into the snow.
He does. He doesn't use doors.
I can count 4 or 5 times he does this dive, and every single time I wrote down. Where is it? The jump ? That's dedication. Every time.
He is perfecting his craft. He goes out there. He goes just like the samurais. He pulls basically pulls a blindfold over his eyes and he goes into blind mode.
I thought he was trying to use echolocation to just shoot the guy. And I thought he was going to do it. I really did.
Terrible shot.
No, he was a great shot.
With his eyes closed, I said. With his eyes closed.
Oh, so he got him, almost got him. The guy gets away, and then we have to head back to the States for a funeral. So anything else with this part? All right, Taylor.
A few days after Nikki's funeral is the Academy Awards ceremony, where Frank gives Rachel a panic button in the shape of a cross to immediately alert him to any trouble. Despite this, a plethora of backstage technical issues hamper Frank's efforts to monitor the proceedings closely. While presenting an award, Rachel freezes and runs off stage, angry at Frank for embarrassing her with overprotective measures. Later, Rachel is announced as the winner for Best Actress, but as she comes on stage to accept the award, Portman is revealed to be the hitman, masquerading as the bodyguard for the ceremony's host. Frank notices Portman pointing a gun disguised as a camera at Rachel. As he prepares for the fatal shot, Frank runs on stage and leaps in front of Rachel, taking the bullet meant for her and setting off chaos amongst the audience. Quickly regaining his balance, Frank shoots and kills Portman as the latter aims at Rachel again. Frank is left wounded, and Rachel calls for help, all the while urging him to stay with her as he slowly passes out.
Oh man,
like a boss.
That was a scene. That was peak Costner. I loved it.
So okay, they're saying, didn't she have to cross the whole movie?
Yeah,
she had it for a good bit. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't think that's right when he gave it to her. But this is, again, just the bipolar Whitney. Her sister has died. We know there's a hitman. We know the hitman was hired to kill her. Dead sister. We get back to the States. She wants to go to the awards, and she's mad at Costner again for taking precautions. Like, I just don't, this character kind of drives me nuts. He's trying to save her life. Her
money's gone to her head, man.
Died, and she's mad because he's worried someone's trying to kill her. I didn't like it. This whole award scene kind of frustrated me. Also, the host was in Bull Durham. Just sidebar. But
who else was in Bull Durham?
I know who was in Bull Durham.
Was that a hockey movie?
Oh my God.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. So, okay, now we're tracking with the hitman. He spent like a weekend or however long they were in the mountains trying to kill this woman. And then I couldn't get it done. You know the best place for me to do it? On live television at the Oscars with me disguised as a camera with a gun up beside me like this. I mean,
I want to stop y'all for a second. Y'all are too young and y'all have no appreciation for good 90s movies. Okay. I realize that we have much more modern technology. And, maybe the writing is a little better, but come on, guys, just enjoy the ride. Come on.
I couldn't agree more, Allison. You are so right. These guys need to just step up to the plate and smell the roses. Man.
Yeah.
Brandon, I thought you were Team Bradley.
I am old Team Bradley.
This is a show where we just ignore any failings of the plot or anything like that and just take it for what it is. That's really
I do think if there's a red laser that keeps bouncing around, that somebody would be alarmed. Just anyone would be a little bit disturbed by that, but no one did.
They thought it was a laser pointer. Some kid snuck in. Cooper snuck in with his little laser pointer, trying to put it on Rachel's face.
But to what she's saying though, Nate, had Costner not been Costner and been the smartest bodyguard alive, this would have been the perfect crime for that guy. He's got an alibi that he's guarding someone else, and if Costner doesn't ask that guy about him, he's never going to know the difference.
Why would he tell the truth? Why would he
Huh?
I don't know. Keep going.
I'm just saying, he's got a chance right there to lie when Costner sees him, and Costner knows he does bodyguard work, so it makes sense. And then if he hides behind that camera, shoots the guy, and then comes back out as bodyguard, I mean, he's got the perfect alibi.
But he's not the bodyguard.
Well, no, but if you don't act, there's only one guy you've told that to. So if Frank doesn't go up to the host and say, "Hey, is this your bodyguard?" No one's ever going to know any different.
Yeah. Okay. That's
did
okay.
think so. At the very beginning of the whole movie, the guy that he was protecting asked him, he's like, "How did you know that guy was bad?" And he's like, "He was washing your car." No one ever was supposed to, like, he notices something out of place, and so when he tells Tony, "Go disrupt these people," that camera guy is not supposed to be there. That's another like tie-in of like, hey, I notice when there's too much of something or not enough, and like, so he sees the camera guy before Corbin's even there. I just thought that was a really nice touch. Very nice.
Oh yeah.
Good. That's good.
So
I had something I forgot.
She goes out to do the award thing, and she freezes, and that's when she gets all upset again. And then I think Little Cy fires Costner because, again, if you're going to upset her, her life's not as important as her career. So,
and then Tony defends him. Tony defends him faster than Brandon defends me. And he just says, "Hey, you're a punk. My best friend Frank is better than you." And it was awesome.
And then
Tony, that's because Frank told Tony at the beginning of the movie, "I don't want to talk about this again." The knife fight. So Tony was on board.
Yeah, I'm telling you, if I'm sitting there with a butcher knife getting ready to go at somebody, and somebody spares my life by hitting it going right next to the wood beside me and says, "Hey, let's not talk about this again," I'm like, you know what? You and me, same team. We're on the same team.
And so
my favorite part.
Go ahead.
My favorite part. Oh, I think we're getting to it. He jumps in front of the bullet, and everybody just like freezes for whatever reason. The gunman's still frozen. Like he doesn't decide to take off. But in the midst of all that, he's holding a pistol in his hand, and there's people that rush around him. And instead of like, okay, let's get this gun, let's figure out. They're trying to, and all of a sudden he's just like, "What you looking at?" Ka-chow! And drills him. And man, that was Pete Costner for me. That was the. He's still, and then he's like, "Oh."
I liked the second shot just to make sure he made sure that the camera exploded by his face. Just to finish things off.
I think too. Ironically, I think that was one of the more realistic moments in the movie. I mean, it feels sensational, but we're actually watching two shows currently wherein the Secret Service isn't. We're watching The West Wing and we're watching Designated Survivor. And when you see the way Secret Service agents act, like it just gives you a real appreciation for what it looks like to truly put your life aside for the sake of somebody else. And that's it. Like he was thinking about her at all times and trying to protect her at all times. And I mean, yeah, it was very 1992 and sensational, but I think that was the point. He was willing to do everything he could to protect her.
The ultimate professional.
Yeah. I can go with that.
Incredible.
And so this leads us to the last paragraph, right, Taylor?
Yep. So Frank recovers from the shooting and bids farewell to Rachel at the airport, both knowing their relationship would never work out. After the plane starts to take off, Rachel suddenly orders the plane to stop, jumps out, and runs to Frank for one last passionate kiss. Sometime later, Rachel performs "I Will Always Love You" on a stage, while elsewhere Frank is keeping a vigilant eye on his next assignment while a priest is seen holding a cross similar to the one he gave Rachel.
Yeah, there's not even a whole lot to talk about here. It literally is.
So she gets on. I mean, they have this little embrace. He kisses her on the cheek. Whatever, they leave. She gets on the plane. She's going by. Big Tony, loving his not protege, his whatever, the opposite of protege. Loving that he's around again. "Hey, Frank, good to see you. Thanks for teaching me your ways. Now I'm going to go protect her while you go out." And then lo and behold, in the middle of the runway, she stops. She says, "Nobody loves me like you do, Frank." So she takes off. "I've been saving all my love for you. I will always love you." And he takes off after her. They embrace him with his shoulder, whatever, in a sling. And man, what a really sweet moment that nobody saw coming, right?
Yeah, totally caught me off guard.
Shocked.
Here's the power of Whitney Houston, though, because I was like, this is lame. This is awful. What is happening? And then everything goes silent. And I was about to tell my wife like how lame it was. And then the drop. And then Whitney just belts that last, I will always love you. And I thought, this is amazing. Great job. Great ending. You know,
the one thing I would have done with the plane scene was Costner got her a replacement. The whole movie, you had the guy from Home Alone, Fuller's dad, being like, "Are you getting paid a lot of money? This sounds like a great gig. Get me that gig." I think that would have been an awesome callback if that dude would have been the new bodyguard instead of this guy we've never seen before, because they were still both older dudes. But
yeah, but he didn't want. Hey, she tends to have a little thing for the bodyguard, so he wanted to leave no doubt that this old man, she was not going to be playing with his samurai sword, you know.
Okay.
They there were a lot of moving parts to that plane scene, because this isn't like just a car that you can just hit the brakes and then hop out. Like whoever was sprinted to get those stairs to the right door area, whoever like put everything, like great. Like your unsung hero, Mikey, should be the plane crew that allowed that moment to happen. That was A+ work.
I couldn't agree slightly more.
Alice?
Y'all have completely missed the most important part of the plane scene.
What's that?
It's because you're guys. And so even the description of the last scene is wrong. Yes, she's singing the song in the future, but you hear it in the plane scene, right? You hear it in the background and the words. If I should stay, I would only be your way. So I'll go, but I know I'll think of you every step of the way.
Whoa.
Like she is sitting on that plane and you're hearing all of that. And it tells their story. The first few lines of that movie tell their entire story. And it was just beautiful. It was just beautiful. And she was beautiful in that scene.
That's why we had you on here, Allison, because I heard that and I would just love that song. And so I was in it. And then, you know, I'm in this whole shtick where we're like picking it apart because that's what we do. And it's just great to be reminded of that. I did recognize that because I was singing along with it. And then the drop happened and then it was glorious. It was glorious.
Wow.
It was good.
I think we've nailed it. So now we should get to the final thoughts. We should get to I think we should let Brandon kick us off here, Brandon. Why don't you get us going?
Oh, you whippersnappers just don't get a good film. But I caught everything, even what Allison said. I saw it all. I knew it all. I was on top of the world. I give this film a 22 because it was interesting. A lot of stuff happened. A lot of drama. A lot of intrigue, which I always like. Acting was great. Whitney Houston's voice, actually, because of Whitney Houston's voice, I'm going to give it 1,022 because her voice is incredible. Wow. Incredible. The unsung hero was
who's your favorite character?
It was that man who was the janitor from Air Bud. Love that guy. Loved him. Super wise. Just has a nice, comforting, gravelly voice.
Very comforting, gravelly voice.
Yeah. Acosta's great. He's such a stud. I love how he throws knives. He's not quite as good as Huckleberry Finn, but he's up there. And he's no Injun Joe, that's for sure. And I think that's all I have to say about the movie. Like, I liked a lot of it. I don't really remember that much. I'd watch it again. And now it comes to the most important part of this is really the only reason why I think they still have me on this podcast. So I can sing you a song. And
I can't wait.
Listening to this to get fired up, and you'd think, hey, Brandon, why don't you do a Whitney Houston song? And you know what? Because I can't sing well. So I'm going to do this one. And he goes, bump, 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 tumble out of bed, and Coster stumbles into the kitchen, pours himself a cup of orange juice, and yawn and stretch and try to come to life. Jump in the shower, and the blood starts pumping out on the street, blocking people from hurting. Rachel, with folks like me, like Coster on the job from 9 to 5, working 9 to 5. What a way to make a living, barely getting by. It's all taken and no giving. They just use Coster's mind and they never give him credit. It's enough to drive you crazy if Coster lets it. 9 to 5, for service and devotion. He would think that Costner would deserve a fat promotion. Wanna move ahead, but Whitney won't seem to let me. I swear sometimes that Costner's out to get me. All right, that's all.
He did another Dolly cover, so that's
Wow.
good, man.
It's fitting.
I like it. I like it.
That was incredible.
Too long, not long enough.
Since you and Brandon are like a duo, I think it's only fair that you go next.
I can't follow that as good, but I would say my favorite character is Costner. And I think Allison really hit on something, that you see these little bits and pieces of how just good he is in dialogue, and how he's always just a bad dude, but he's also really smooth with talking to people, with making situations feel funny and natural. And Costner's awesome. And I think for me at least, he had to be the favorite character. To make it more guy friendly, I mean, I will say, I don't think this was a chick flick upon watching it. I mean, it's very, there's a love part of it, but it's definitely not it. But I would say it's a movie, as I kind of transition, it's kind of guy friendly, and my final thoughts. It's a 2-hour, 8-minute movie that I think could have been about an hour and a half, because I think it was just really slow at a few different parts. So either you make it shorter to make it more guy friendly for attention span purposes, or you just commit to something. Because like I said earlier, it does an okay job at trying to be a love story, does an okay job of getting the suspense stuff, and not everything connects all the way. So that's why I had a hard time with it. I don't necessarily factor in like 1992 and all that, because I think in 92, like I said earlier, because of the people in the movie, this is probably amazing. And I think the acting was good. Houston did a good job, and Costner did a great job, and all that. But because of all that, I give it 2.2 butterfly tattoos. Typically a 3 is my line of would I watch it again, like fully or not. And I didn't hate it, but there was just so much going on. It took a long time for me to connect the dots. So I don't know if I'd watch it again, just because it never really committed to anything. So that's where I land.
All right. Allison?
No, let her go last. Last.
All right.
Yeah, golly. No, I'm going to go. I'm just kidding. Go ahead, Mikey. I just like being silly.
Everything I do, you cut me off. All right. So for me, favorite character, I mean, come on, y'all. It's Costner. Come on.
Man,
and front runner. I could go on and on and on about why, but I don't have to. I've been doing it for 2 seasons. Costner is the best character in any movie he's in. That's just the way it is. For unsung hero, Bradley's probably right. It would be the plain people. But I'm not going to talk about the unsung hero, because I think in a movie like this, we can only talk about the sung hero. And again, it's Costner. Costner is he's the hero that we all wish we could be. The dude, he is just, you can't do it better than him. Even the end, when he took the bullet, what was that, 6 dives in this movie? And they were dives that just showed his dedication to the game. As far as final thoughts, I'm going to agree with Bradley. I think that this movie, it was one, I love Costner. Usually I just give him a 5 because it's Costner. But this was a movie where I don't think it knew what it was. And I'm going to say that even though him and Whitney went back and forth, I don't think this was a love story at all. Even hearing the thing at the end where she starts singing "I Will Always Love You" and the lyrics kind of matching and then running off the plane, I would call this a lust story, because they weren't in love. They had one night where they screwed around. He saved her life. She hated him. Then she wanted him around. Then she hated him. Then she wanted him around. Then he kisses her on the cheek. She goes to leave. Then she comes back and they kiss on the lips. And then he goes on and does his own thing. Like, I just don't think they were in love. I think they just had this little fling. It was good while it lasted. And so because of that, I don't know that I'd technically call this a romance movie. I think it was a thriller that had a tiny little love plot in it. And so because of that, I'm going to give it 3 butterfly tattoos. I'd probably watch it again. But I don't think just because it didn't fit the criteria of what we usually rate these movies on. And so that's my 2 cents.
Real quick before Nathan goes, I agree with you, Mike. Don't y'all think, though, that, like, if you just put it a little more cheeseball, could you picture Michael Scarn being in these scenes?
100%.
And just doing the extreme
100%.
stuff? I just couldn't take that out of my
100%.
mind when I put that in there.
I'll be honest. I did not get there. I think let me just. I really enjoyed this movie. Didn't we almost have it all? I mean, we had a love flicker. We had a villain, a suspense. I mean, we literally almost had it all. I was a big fan of Costner, of course. He's not going to be the person that I choose as my most favorite, just because I think that goes without saying. I think Whitney was really good in this movie. I think she made it. I don't know, like Mikey, you said this earlier. If you put Mariah Carey in that movie, it's not worth it. I think Whitney did an amazing job. I think she is what made this movie as good as it was. I think Costner, you're going to have a level of greatness with him, and him being a bodyguard, like that is, I mean, from a manly perspective, like that's everything. Like you've got that. But to bring somebody in like Whitney, who, I mean, I just think she nailed it. She nailed it, and I don't know that. I'm trying to think of in '92 who else was even. Who were some other
between her and Madonna?
Yeah, I think it's because Madonna's she's got a little edgy. I could see Madonna doing well with this too, but I mean, we talked a little bit about this too, like the interracial side of it too. I think there's a little element again of just like they're gonna make. Like, I think it made this movie very intriguing on so many levels. I really, really enjoyed it, and I think again, like I said, I think Whitney stole the show in my mind. As much as someone could ever steal a show from Costner or Mikey, I think Whitney.
Amen.
She did it. So the comps. These are 3 movies that you guys may be able to add to, but these are 3 movies that just struck with core with me or whatever. I'll start off with one that we've already done, For Love of the Game, and it also has Costner in it. Now, here's where these 2 movies have a lot in common. I think that the love story is secondary in both of these movies, and I know Allison, you feel very strongly about the love story, and I respect that a lot. I think in that movie, I'm led to believe that he loves baseball more than he does the girl, but that it's okay. We can disagree, but that there was something other than love with this, which makes it so like I'm in. I could watch For Love of the Game again at any time. I could watch The Bodyguard again. It's just it just grips you, and I'm in it. The other one that I thought was Man on Fire with Denzel Washington, where he kind of becomes the bodyguard of the little girl. It's a little bit different because in this he's not like primarily the bodyguard of the little boy. He's obviously Whitney's bodyguard, and then Man on Fire, he's primarily the girl's bodyguard, and then also kind of looks after the family. So it's kind of the roles reverse a little bit. But you have this guy who's kind of been in this whole thing. Denzel was a big drinker in Man on Fire, but just like almost this like getting back into he's a veteran when it comes to Secret Service. Like he's going to get the job done. He is far and above better than anybody else that's around. So that was another one. And the last one was Enough with Jennifer Lopez. I forget who, but she's like, she has, I don't know if y'all seen that movie. She's I think it's her husband or maybe her boyfriend is like abusing her and hurting her. And anyway, she trains to fight back. Anyway, I got the same vibe of that, like the girl in distress. And anyway, so those are 3 that I thought of that I think are that remind me of this movie a lot. When it comes to butterfly tattoos, again, it's weird because I would watch this movie. I'd watch this movie again. If it was on TV, I wouldn't mind watching it. But for romance, I think the romance side, you said it was a lust story, Mikey. I don't know that. I mean, I'm sure that's certainly part of it. I kind of got the vibe like when someone does lay down their life for you, it's hard to not like love them. I don't know that it's a romantic love as much as it is just like, I need you around. I want you around. Like you are someone who I trust with, like, I trust you and whatever. And she like seeing her journey through that side, I really like that. I think that was way more again, I don't think that was a romantic love as much as it was just a recognition of it's a perfect fit. I want you as this role in my life. And then it's interesting to me that that's not the case anymore, which would lead me to believe that they're in love. But I don't know. That doesn't really land for me as much as just the realization. I think she was way more just like grateful for him in so many ways. And so I guess it's a sort of a love, but not like a romantic love. So when it comes to my butterfly tattoos, I'm going to stick with the theme here and give it a 2.5. I would watch this movie. I love this movie. I would watch it again, but from the romantic side of it, if I'm rating it on how it does romance, I think it was more lustful. And, but I'm not crazy about that love story, but I love the movie. So I'm going to get a 2.5, kind of split the difference. Really love the movie as a movie in general. I'd probably give it a 4.5, but as a love story, not so much. I don't think it was the worst, but I do think that it did lack a lot.
I agree with that. I agree with all that.
Allison, take us home. Tell us why we're stupid.
Actually, I'm glad I went last because I agree with all of you much more than I expected to. So I really struggle with a favorite character, and I'm the guest, so I'm just going to pick two. I think this movie can't exist without both Costner and Whitney. I think you both hit the nail on the head. Like Whitney's sort of neuroticism and kind of, I don't know how I feel on Monday versus how I feel on Tuesday. I think that's what she needed to be. Like she is a movie star. She's been in the spotlight her entire life, and she's got this guy telling her it's not safe. Well, yeah, but that's my livelihood. That's who I am. Like that's who I was made to be. And so I get her. But then he has this job to do, and she's his number one priority. And I mean, he's literally taking a bullet for her. And so I just think I just can't choose, and I'm just not going to choose. I do think the unsung hero in the movie is Devaney. I love that guy. I just think the way he reminds me of what's his name? The guy in Shawshank. Help me out here. Morgan Freeman. He's like the Freeman of the movie. Like I need to just get you people to stop acting crazy and take a step back. And he just brings reason to all situations. And I thought he was really great. I agree that this is not a love story. I actually was a little surprised when you said y'all were going to review it because I have never seen this as a love story. It's more just the proverbial like love lost story, if that makes sense. Like they were never going to work. And that's kind of the point. Like I think the attraction was because of their devotion to what they were doing. Like they were together 24 hours a day. I mean, all the time. He's got this job of protecting her. And I think that dynamic just created this attraction. But at the end of the day, they were always going to be in each other's way. And that's the song, right? Like, I will always be in your way. This is never going to work. And so the story is about revealing to us that problem, that unresolvable problem. So I agree. It's not a love story, but I think their love and devotion to one another and their ability to say, you know what's best for us is to stop this, I think is a love story at the end of the day. Like they loved each other and cared for each other enough to say when to call it quits, so to speak. And so that's how the movie ends. And it's actually a happy ending because they were just never going to work out.
How will I know? Because he's not on the job. He's not on her service anymore. And so maybe they do.
I don't think so.
Nah.
I don't think so.
Probably not.
So butterflies. What?
I'm so sorry. Sorry.
Oh no. Okay. No question. All right. Butterfly tattoos. I would say I've got just two more things. Butterfly tattoos. I'm going to go 3.8. I don't think this movie gets a 4. I think for Love of the Game, I gave like a 4.999 or something because I just think it did. Nate, you said it. You said it's something other than a love story. You described for Love of the Game that way too. And frankly, that's why I like these movies. I'm not a chick flick person. I like these movies because there's something other than a love story, and that makes them more real. Like, because even our love stories aren't just love stories. They're stories of holistic lives and people and jobs and kids eating popcorn in my ear and, things like that. And they tell that story in For Love of the Game. They tell that story here. It's not just about Frank. It's about her crazy job and her narcissistic personality. And so I think that does make it more of a guy-friendly movie than your typical crazy Hallmark, nobody lives like that bullcrap. So, but I would give it a 3.8. It's good. The soundtrack makes the movie. Without it, it's just not the same. But I certainly enjoyed watching it again.
So, hold on, one second, Mike. You and your husband do a really good job at exposing your child to great older movies. How many more years till Cooper watches this one?
He watched it last night.
I didn't know. That's great.
Full disclosure, I did not know this movie was R-rated. I did not even notice that. But for what it's worth, I don't think this movie would be rated R today.
No,
I
don't
think it might be PG-13.
Cooper, did you like it?
Did you like it? Mm-hmm.
He's shaking his head yes if you're not watching.
There was a lot of action. I mean, it's kind of made for a 13-year-old, but for the, you know.
And that's what I was going to add.
He missed a couple of scenes, and we're thankful for that.
Like, that's what about this podcast. Like, this is movies that normally we wouldn't watch. And I guess growing up, maybe it was like because of the song and just the preview that I saw. But I thought that this, like, I didn't know there was the thriller aspect. In my mind, this was a full-fledged love story. Like, he was just her bodyguard all along, and it was so. Yeah, when we picked it, I just thought that this was going to focus more on romance, but it did not, thankfully. So, like, it was so much better than I thought it would be in that sense.
What was the other one we did that was like similar? Maybe was it what was the Swayze one we did?
Ghost?
Yeah. Was that a similar where we thought it was going to be like a romantic deal and it really wasn't at all?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it was a murder mystery too.
Yeah. Which I love. I love that is a genre and what we're doing, and we didn't know it. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
There were a lot of movies like that back then. That whole genre has kind of disappeared, but that was a big thing in the 80s.
Even Safe Haven. Like that one. Modern day. When I heard Nicholas Sparks, I thought, man, that's going to be a fart fest. But it was like figuring out, like, it was very, very like.
It was more than a love story.
Yeah. Taylor, you've been listening. You have not seen this movie, correct?
That's correct.
Based on this podcast, give us your thoughts. Would you watch it? What are you thinking?
I have a few thoughts that I think are pretty quick. One, I don't really have any interest in watching it. My interest definitely died when I read about that whole he gets shot and then regains his balance and gets off the shot. And I'm like, I've seen that 100 times and it usually annoys me. He should have just rolled over and someone else would have taken him out, but that's me. But something Allison said really resonated with me. I think you might appreciate this. You said, I never thought of this movie as a romantic film, and I never thought of this movie as a romantic film because we announced that it was going to be The Bodyguard. I hadn't seen it. I knew Costner was in it, and I was going, I don't understand what the romance is between Costner and Ashton Kutcher while they are Coast Guards, and it turns out that's Guardian, and so I had no idea what we were getting into tonight at all. So
that's funny.
That's great. That is fantastic.
I don't like that. There, Brandon, you got any last nuggets? You're always just leaving us with some wisdom there.
You know, everybody, I have no nuggets. It was an awesome night. Bring us home, Mikey Blagg.
Oh,
what voice was
that was the. Yeah, what was that?
What?
What's this character?
Bring us home, Mikey Blagg.
All right, well, I guess that's it. I think we've done it. I don't know, guys. Is like this might be it. This might be the last one.
Are we not doing a wrap up one?
Are we going to? We've never said for sure.
I don't know.
I vote
Well,
yeah.
Yeah,
So we're going to have an awards episode. So that's
something
still
like that.
something
A wrap up.
But as far as movies, I mean, unless there's like a holiday special, this is it. Allison, thank you so much for watching.
Yes, great job. You nailed it.
I don't think we would have caught on to as much as we did had you not pointed it out to us, because I didn't even. I've heard that song a million times and never listened to the words, I think.
And what's really cool about it is because one of you asked me about the soundtrack, like were those songs made for the movie? And I think they were. I think that soundtrack was written for this movie, but I Will Always Love You wasn't. I mean, that song's been out forever. And frankly, I mean, I remember my daddy would like really took issue with the fact that someone other than Dolly was singing that song. But I mean, Whitney like crushed it. But I think it's so cool because that was not an original song, but it tells the entire story of the movie. I just felt like it was so powerful.
So,
Also,
and I don't remember, had she sung I Will Always Love You before this movie? Okay, so
I don't remember her doing that. I remember it coming out about the same. I think it was on the soundtrack.
Which would make total sense.
Yeah, that's my memory.
That, to me, just puts this movie up because, like, that song is iconic. There are 3 or 4 songs when people try to do them on any of these singing shows. People are like, you don't do that one. Like, if you're going to do that one, you better do that one. And it's all because of a song she didn't write, but it was for a movie. Like, if not for this movie, we may have never had this iconic song from Whitney. And that makes this movie really awesome.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. With a lot that we don't agree with as a whole, can we all just be thankful that it was her, not Madonna?
Or Mariah Carey.
That song would have been, but there it is, folks. This has been a talk to remember. You may not remember the movie, but we hope you remember the talk. Bye.
For romance, somehow these dudes are our only hope.
I hope you do not remember the movie, but you know the talk. Bye.